What's going on, folks? Welcome to Stu's Garage today, and today we're going to be talking about a couple of things you can do to prep your LS motor that you just pulled out of the junkyard, and basically things you can do to make that motor better so that it can go into your build and you don't have to worry about a lot of things. For my Ford fans, guess what? It's a Coyote now. So anyways, first thing, if you've never done this before, which you probably haven't based on the fact that you're watching this video, you want to find yourself a complete motor. And the reason why you want to find a complete motor is just easier to know everything that's on that motor. You don't have to piece every single part together that you're missing. I pieced this motor together and I had a hard time with it. One of my good friends, Tyler Hess, came through. He helped me out and he helped me to find everything that I was missing. So Tyler, he used to have a really cool YouTube channel. He doesn't do it anymore. Tyler, if you're watching, come back to YouTube because your stuff was pretty cool. But anyways, some of the things you want to look at when you do your motor is, you know, when you get it, take it apart. It's really easy to do. Change your lifters. Put the LS7 lifters in it. OEM parts, folks. Take off your front cover. That's going to take you 15 minutes. Put in a nice oil pump. I have a Melling oil pump, which is one of like 3 aftermarket parts that I have on here. So that's going to give me more oil flow. While you're at it, you can change out your cam, which I also have a cam. Put any cam in it that you want that's good for your motor, that, you know, whatever your taste is, and get matching cam springs. So the cam's going to run you about $350. Cam springs is going to run you about, you know, 100, 120. And the last thing that you want to do is what the purpose of this video is today, which is going to be your rocker trunnion update. So we're going to actually change out the bearings in these rockers, and I'm going to show you how to do that in just a second. Okay, so the reason you're going to want to update the trunnions on your LS motor is because while these are a great design, they do have a slight flaw in them, which is they've got these tiny little things called needle bearings in them, and if the bearings go bad, it's going to send those bearings all throughout your motor. And I'm going to show you those bearings in a little bit once we take this thing apart. So since I plan on revving this motor for everything that it's worth, I definitely want to have a solid valve train, so I'm going to go ahead and do the valve train updates. One thing that a lot of people might think that don't know about LS motors is they may think that it's better to just go ahead and get a roller rocker and put in there, but actually a roller rocker doesn't actually refer to the tip. It actually refers to the bearings that you have here, and I guess this is what you would call the trunnion. But so these are actually roller rockers. And the other thing is, in the LS motor, this is actually a really good design because it's lightweight, it's very strong, and when you put a big roller rocker in there, you're adding more reciprocating mass, and it's just not good for high RPMs. So these are really your best bet when it comes to high RPMs. Alright, so I went ahead and did one of these for myself, just so I could see how to do it, because it's my first time as well. So this is what the new rocker looks like with the new bearing set installed, and this of course is what the old one looks like. And back to what I was saying about the needle bearings and why you want to actually change these things out is, so this is actually a new bearing here, and it does have the needle bearings, which I'll show you. So you can kind of see it there. Those little pins will actually explode out of these bearings and they'll go all over the place. So even though the new set does have these needle bearings, what sets this apart is that you've got these retaining clips on the end, which actually, if the bearings come apart, these clips here on the outsides will actually hold that in. And you can see that if you take a look at this. So basically that clip kind of sandwiches everything in there and holds everything into place. So this kit right here is from ZZ Performance. They do sell some kits without any kind of bearings at all, and they just kind of you know, ride on oil and friction and however. So the kits are a little bit different, but the general concept of how you install these things is pretty much the same. So your kit should come with these washers in it, and these are not regular washers. These are like kind of thick, and they're meant to allow this trunnion to fall between them so that you can press everything together. So also this kit from ZZ Performance comes with new bolts. I just wanted to throw that in there. But anyways, let's go ahead and show you how to install these new bearings. Alright, so first off, we're starting out with my mini press from Harbor Freight, and I can't say enough about the good stuff I've gotten from Harbor Freight. So you can actually do this in a vise, and you can also do it with a hammer. The concept is the same when you do it with a vise. And then a hammer wise, I don't know, you can kind of figure out how to do that, but in this video we're going to be using this mini press. Alright folks, so after doing a few of these, I've kind of come up with my own process that works better for me. For this, it's more efficient. So anyways, you're going to start with your socket that's big enough for this circular portion to fit down in, because when you press it out, it has to have somewhere to go. You can't just press up against a flat surface. So like I said, the same thing applies for a vise. So you're just going to go ahead, push down on it, and it's going to pop out like so. And you can see there, those are the needle bearings that'll pop out and go all inside your motor if you're to have a bearing failure with your standard bearings. Alright, so with the old pieces aside, what we're going to do here is we're going to take the new trunnion and the new bearing, and we're actually going to use it to push out the plastic retainer. And it's kind of important to do that just so that you don't knock out the new needle bearings. And then you're going to place your trunnion on the outside of the rocker, and you're actually going to use that to press your new bearing in. And I know you guys are having a hard time seeing, but it's going to look a little bit like that, and that's the best way you can push that thing in. So let's go ahead and crank down on the press. And if you can see how I'm pressing this thing in, that little silver lip right there, I want that to be flush with the outside of the actual rocker. I don't want to go any further than that, otherwise it's not going to function properly. So that's in there. Now I'm going to take my trunnion out, and I'm going to put it on the inside, because that's actually how it's meant to be installed. And I'm going to flip this over. Alright, I'm going to take this stack of washers, and I'm actually going to set this on top of the washers, because basically, if you can see, the trunnion, sorry for the focus folks, but I can only do this with two hands. But the trunnion fits in between those washers, and that gives it space to push down, because right now it's up too high. I'm sorry, it's actually where it's supposed to be, but you don't want to push down on it. So you're going to take those two. You're going to put your new bearing there on top like such. Push out that plastic cap. And you're going to take your supplied washers that comes with your kit, and you're going to line these up around the outside of the bearing. And because my press is so narrow, I'm actually using another washer just to keep my the shaft from the press from going down into the hole. And now it's all ready to press together. So what's happening here is I'm pressing the bearing in without affecting the actual trunnion. And we're just going to go straight down into there. Same thing as before. We're being very mindful not to press this thing in too far. You don't want to mash it together, because then you'll mess up your bearing, and you want it to be flush. So that's how you press those pieces in, and your end result is basically that. So the next thing up is you're going to take these retaining clips, and you're going to clip them on each side. And I'm not going to show you that because I mean, it's pretty obvious, and I struggle with these things. These are the Harbor Freight ones. Don't buy these from Harbor Freight. Buy everything else, but don't buy snap ring pliers. Alright, so you can see here I went ahead and snapped the snap rings on there, and that's what holds everything together. So even now, if those bearings do come apart, they'll be retained behind those snap rings. And on the ZZ Performance kit, these snap rings are a good bit thicker than what you would normally see out of a snap ring, and that's what they do that's unique to their kit. Alright, there's all the old parts. There's the new bolts right there, and here's the refreshed rockers and trunnions. So what we're going to do now is we're going to toss these in a bag of oil. And again, I don't know if this is necessary, but I just want to have these things nice and lubricated since we did take them all apart and everything. Going to shake those up in the oil a little bit, and then we're going to throw them into the heads. Alright, so another thing that's cool about the LS platform is it uses these rails to install your rockers on top of, and I believe this is what they mean by the net lash system. So once you put them down on here with the proper torque and everything, you don't have to lash your valves, and that's cool for a guy like me because I don't like doing that technical stuff. So we're gonna go ahead, you run one of these bolts through it, put it down on there, tighten everything down, and get it to the proper torque specs. All right, folks, and that was the last major thing that I had to do to the engine to get this thing ready to go. And with the exception of a few minor screws here and there, this motor is ready to drop inside the car. So there's one more thing that we have to do to the Mustang to get the Mustang ready to go for a motor swap, and then we're gonna be ready to stick this thing in there. So for those of you all who are following the build, keep watching. If you like what you saw today, go ahead and hit that dislike button, unsubscribe, and leave me a nasty comment. See you guys next time.